We often think of our survival in terms of the big stuff, right? Our heart pumping, our lungs breathing, our brain processing. But what if the real drivers of your existence were actually microscopic? Let's dive right into this explainer and explore one of the absolute fastest, most catastrophic biological failures imaginable. It's a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying thought experiment based on some very real biological facts.
Imagine this sudden, silent void. There's no warning, no transition period, just poof, the complete disappearance of your cellular powerhouses. 1 second they are humming along inside trillions of your cells, and the next second, they're simply gone. I know, it sounds like pure science fiction, but walking through this exact scenario reveals just how incredibly dependent human life is on these microscopic structures. Without them, the human body wouldn't just slow down, it would experience a complete systemic collapse.
Okay, before we watch the whole system crash, we need to understand the exact biological currency we just lost. You've probably heard mitochondria called the powerhouses of the cell, right? Well, that's because they generate ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. Think of ATP as the absolute fundamental fuel that keeps your lights on. It's the main energy molecule for all living things. A single human cell might contain hundreds, or even thousands of these mitochondria, depending strictly on how much energy that specific cell needs to do its job.
And this really hits home just how dependent your body is on this microscopic machinery. Your cells constantly need ATP for absolutely everything. Whether you are contracting muscles to walk across the room, sending nerve signals to process the words I'm saying right now, pumping ions, repairing damaged tissues, building new proteins, or even just maintaining your 98.6-degree body temperature, ATP is required. No ATP, the machinery just stops dead in its tracks.
Now, what's truly terrifying is the stark contrast between our normal powerhouse efficiency and the incredibly weak backup system we'd be forced to rely on. Normally, mitochondria crank out energy through a highly efficient process called cellular respiration. It mixes glucose from your food with the oxygen you breathe to churn out massive amounts of ATP. But if you suddenly remove them, your cells have to fall back on an ancient biological process called glycolysis. The catch? Glycolysis is basically a tiny, sputtering backup generator. It produces only minuscule, fractional amounts of ATP. Nowhere near enough to keep a complex organism, like a human being, running for more than a fleeting moment.
So here's the absolutely crucial point. Because we don't store large amounts of ATP, the energy starvation kicks in the very millisecond the mitochondria vanish. This is T0. ATP isn't like body fat. It's not stockpiled in some huge biological vault for a rainy day. It is constantly produced and burned in real time. The moment that production stops, your tiny bodily reserves disappear in an instant. Your cells are literally running on empty right from the jump.
Let's zoom out from the microscopic level and look at your organs, starting with system failure number 1, the brain. Your brain is essentially the ultimate energy hog in the human body. Even though it only accounts for a very small percentage of your overall body weight, it absolutely devours a staggeringly huge amount of your body's daily energy budget. It simply cannot function on the meager scraps of ATP provided by our backup system, glycolysis.
Because of that massive energy deficit, your brain activity becomes immediately unstable, leading to a rapid collapse and a total loss of awareness in mere seconds. Without mitochondrial ATP, your neurons instantly lose their ability to hold electrical signals. That complex web of communication between your brain cells, it fails completely. Consciousness would just blink out. And, perhaps most critically for your survival, the fundamental breathing regulation centers located deep in your brainstem would simply shut down.
Moving right along to system failure number 2, the heart. Let's see how this collapse cascades right into your chest. The heart is completely unique because it never gets to take a break. It beats continuously every single second of your entire life. To keep up with that incredible, lifelong workload, heart muscle cells are packed extraordinarily dense with mitochondria.
Because the heart has to beat constantly, the sudden drop to zero ATP causes a rapid circulatory collapse. The physical contractions of the heart muscle get drastically weak. Then, the delicate electrical coordination that keeps your heartbeat in perfect rhythm fails, leading to dangerous, chaotic arrhythmias. Within moments, the heart stops beating entirely, causing a total and irreversible collapse of your blood flow. Now, even if your brain miraculously survived all of that, this next rapid sequence of breathing failure would quickly become fatal. Skeletal muscles, the ones attached to your bones that let you move around, require continuous ATP to both contract and relax properly. Without it, your muscles become critically weak, And yes, that includes your diaphragm, the primary muscle responsible for pumping your lungs. It would just stop working. Your oxygen intake would plummet to zero, while toxic levels of carbon dioxide rapidly build up in your bloodstream. Interestingly enough, there is a tiny, tiny sliver of survival here. Your mature red blood cells. They are a biological exception. They naturally don't contain any mitochondria to begin with, so they already rely completely on glycolysis for their energy. But think about it. They are just delivery vehicles. Without a pumping heart to circulate them, lungs to give them oxygen, or a brain to direct the body, these surviving red blood cells are completely useless. Pretty much all other major cell types depend heavily on mitochondria and would rapidly fail.
This disappearance wouldn't just starve you of energy, though. It would cause massive, simultaneous disruptions across almost every biological system. We call them powerhouses, sure, but mitochondria do so much more than just make ATP. They regulate absolutely essential calcium levels in your cells. They are critical for cell signaling. They help generate body heat. They even control apoptosis, which is the programmed death of damaged cells, and they manage how we metabolize fats. Taking them out pulls the pin on dozens of critical biological processes all at the exact same time. The whole shebang just falls apart. To really understand why we are so incredibly dependent on them, we actually have to look back billions of years into Earth's deep history. This tight integration inside our cells isn't just some random accident. It is the result of one of the longest, most successful, and frankly, most bizarre partnerships in the entire history of life on our planet.
This is the process of endosymbiosis. It's a critical evolutionary partnership that literally allowed complex life forms, like us, to exist in the first place. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, mitochondria were actually independent, free-living bacteria. A larger, primitive host cell swallowed them up, but instead of digesting the bacteria, they struck a deal. The host cell offered a safe, nutrient-rich environment, and in exchange, the bacteria cranked out massive amounts of usable energy. This ancient biological treaty is literally what allowed simple life to evolve into the complex organisms we are today.
So, we have to ask, could a human ever actually survive without mitochondria? Because our brains, hearts, and immune systems require such enormous amounts of ATP every single second, the inevitable answer is a rapid multi-organ failure within minutes. Realistically, no human could ever survive this. Sure, there are some very simple, microscopic organisms out there that can eke out a living on low-energy systems. But humans, we are far too complex. We are basically high-performance machines that need high-octane fuel constantly.
Think about the incredible, fragile interconnectedness of your own body. This entire scenario really reminds us that our lives depend not just on the big stuff like our lungs and our heart, but on this alien, microscopic machinery humming away relentlessly inside trillions of our cells. It's beautifully complex and incredibly delicate. So the next time you take a deep breath or feel your pulse, take just a second to appreciate the billions of tiny powerhouses working endlessly in the dark for you. It really makes you wonder, what other invisible miracles are keeping you alive right now?